As the echoes of the Russia and Ukraine war reverberate globally, it's essential to consider how Tunisia, a nation geographically distant from the epicenter of this geopolitical turmoil, is nevertheless intricately linked to the far-reaching repercussions of this war.
By examining Tunisia's unique position and the consequences it faces, we gain insight into the unexpected ways in which international conflicts can influence nations far beyond their immediate vicinity. Tunisia's economic well-being is intertwined with international trade. It is worthy to note that the nation is actively part of global trade of raw products such as grain, energy, and much more.
Ever since the instigation of the Russia-Ukraine war, wheat and flour have become precious and valuable commodities that have been subsidized in countries like Tunisia.
Tunisia's citizens are dependent on wheat since their most consumed and sold product is pasta, which, as you guessed, is made from wheat.
You would think that a country that mostly consumes pasta would make most of its own wheat flour, which is used to make pasta. Well, it's actually the other way around. They only produce 10 to 30% of their wheat flour, which means they are heavily reliant on imports from other countries. Specifically Ukraine, as it is a principal wheat exporter to Tunisia, which in turn makes Tunisia a clear victim to market fluctuations.
This wheat scarcity has affected bakery owners' livelihoods the most, specifically the non-subsidized bakers. Ever since the governmental decision taken on August 1st of 2023 to suspend the supply of flour for bakeries nationwide, the state monopoly of flour was rationed and sold in two different ways. The first way being the sale of flour to subsidized bakeries at a symbolic rate, accompanied by a theoretical generous state of compensation. We use the term theoretical because the Tunisian government has not paid the compensation for more than a year, even though it was promised.
On the other hand, the distribution of flour to subsidized bakeries costs 3 times as much, with the government's reasoning for this pricing being that these modern bakeries buy special flour which has many qualities like being nutrient-enriched and high quality. This has caused the unsubsidized and subsidized bakeries to blame each other for this flour scarcity when in reality the government has monopolized the ration of bread. This crisis has spread out to affect the average citizen in Tunisia since they are unable to find pastas and baguettes, especially in non-industrialized cities.
The national issue has caused the president himself, Mr. Qais Said, to release a statement blaming the non-subsidized bakeries for their outrageous prices. Especially for the baguette, which in turn put other businesses concerned in jeopardy.
This goes to show that the war has impacted a country that is more than 4,000 miles away from the battle. It is notable that Tunisia was not even one of the countries that was impacted the most by this war. So take a moment to imagine other worstly affected countries whilst knowing Tunisia's crisis, which is far worse than terrible, but still doesn't compare to others.
Last point we would like to mention is an example of a modern bakery that belonged to Hamida Bouguera. She states that her bakery, which is stationed at Nefta, a southwestern city in Tunisia, was at a complete standstill for more than 4 weeks during the month of August because of the flour scarcity. It is fair to remember, as mentioned earlier in the beginning of the month of August, the Ministry of Commerce implemented the monopolization of flour. This affected her living situation and was almost forced to abandon her business.
Moreover, other commodities in the economy were affected, like in Europe. This was the devastating global energy turmoil.
Before diving into this part of the video, it is worthy to point out that Russia is one of the 5 biggest oil exporters worldwide. This all changed after the beginning of the war. The USA, Canada, and the European Union imposed trade sanctions on Russia, which started the energy crisis of the decade, especially in European regions like Balkan region.
The economic pressure put on this region will primarily affect the poor, stated the Balkan governments during the summer of 2022. Inflation had emerged even before the war, and chances are that prices are going to increase further, said Jelena Zarkovic, an associate professor in the Faculty of Economics at the University of Belgrade.
Zarkovic added that 40% of household commodities are spent on food, bills, and energy, which are the products that are increasing fast these days, which makes a huge impact on living standards. In April 2022, 6 Western Balkan countries, who were averaging 9 to 10% of annual inflation, rose to 13.2 annual inflation.
According to the Bosnian political office, the prices of everyday commodities are soaring, with transport being 28.9% more in 2022 than in 2021. This is due to the skyrocketing energy prices because of this energy scarcity. Zedkovic stated that these are long-term consequences in the summer of 2022 that will last even after the war ends. Unfortunately, I have to agree with him. It has been more than a year and a half since his statement, and the war has not ended, and we are still suffering from its repercussions.
At the end of our video, we would like to leave you with a few words. War does not only affect the participating countries or sides, it affects the world in terms of economic growth and much more.